This movie begins with Joanne, a young lady seeking to meet Gio for some sticker purchases. At the club, Gio's friend calls his attention to Joanne's presence, so he comes down and hands her the stickers. Gio has a reputation for being like a playboy. Sadly, Joanne always seems to knock him off his forte. Joanne teases him and Gio has no words for her. Joanne takes her leave after being handed the stickers. As his friend predicts, Gio runs after her to have a chat. He offers Joanne a chance to draw a tattoo for a discount price since his friend owns the tattoo shop. Joanna doesn't like tattoos, so the offer has no meaning to her. Joanne wonders how many women Gio has given a discount for tattoos just because he probably wants them. A lady then approaches Gio and requests for a lighter. She wants a tattoo also, but with a discount. Gio offers her a 10% discount and the lady excitedly agrees. She even wants to hang out with Gio for the evening, but Gio stays focused on Joanne. Meanwhile, Joanne already made plans to leave. Her boss, Ms. Bing, wants her back. The club rarely sees a cab parked outside, so Gio offers to go drop her off using his bike. Before Joanna mutters how careful Gio has to ride, Gio starts riding at almost maximum speed. This makes Joanne scream all the way. Out of fear, she even grabs Gio from the back, reducing the probability of her falling from the bike. They get to Joanne's workplace, and she jumps down, and then she begins walking inside. Gio offers to wait for her, but Joanne couldn't care less about the gesture. She enters the office and submits her report. After a while, she steps out, ready to leave. She's pleasantly surprised when she finds Gio's bike still parked outside. This gesture makes her see Gio in a different light. That moment when one's hero hasn't disappointed them. Joanne hops on the bike, and Gio takes her to her destination. She makes Gio stop far off from her apartment, saying she's avoiding getting stalked, seeing Gio can pass for someone who'd do that. Gio tries to plead his innocence, but Joanne doesn't change her mind. She thanks him, wishes him well, and walks on. That night, Gio sources for Joanne's phone contact and texts her. Interestingly, Joanne only plays tough around Gio. Gio's text sends warmth to her. Knowing it's from Gio, puts a smile on her face. The two text for a while before bidding each other goodnight. The next morning, Joanne can't find a taxi to board to work. From nowhere, Gio shows up. He offers to take her to work, but Joanne doesn't want to be indebted. After a while of chasing taxis in futility, Joanne gives in to Gio's offer. In a short while, Joanne arrives at her office. Ms. Bing's call doesn't even let her give Gio a proper goodbye as she makes her way inside the office. After the meeting, Joanne's immediate superior gives her some instructions, warning her not to bite more than she can chew. She strolls out and finds Gio waiting for her. Gio notices her dampened mood and takes her out. Joanne, while wearing a smile, steals glances at Gio as Gio tries to cheer her up. They spend the other part of the afternoon painting murals. The next evening, Gio and Joanne hang out again. After contemplating who pays for the meal, Gio holds that he must sort the bill. They also playfully argue about the poster Gio has made for Joanne. Joanne thinks something is missing, but Gio calls it a masterpiece. He trusts his drawing skills a lot. Joanne switches on her laptop to put together a PowerPoint presentation for her office. Gio berates the work done by her so far and offers to help her using his artistic brain. The next day, Joanne is at work. She makes the presentation and everyone in the room loves it. Joanne then steps out and finds Gio waiting. This time, Gio even offers her a brand new helmet, exclusively for her. The lovebirds play a bit, holding each other and stealing kisses before Gio takes Joanne on a ride. The ride extends till morning. This is so because Joanne opts to go see her family. Everyone except her dad is excited to see Joanne back home after many months. He wonders why Joanne has returned. Her dad isn't impressed with Gio's looks. While they join Joanne's family for breakfast, Joanne's dad wants to know how many times Gio has been a prison inmate. The tattoos on him are a reason for concern. Joanne's dad doesn't say nice things about Gio, convinced that Gio being friends with Joanne is a mistake that needs correction. The conversation is in a language that Gio doesn't understand, but Joanne's countenance tips Gio off, that he hasn't been fully welcomed. Gio and Joanne visit the lake for a swim. There, Joanne shares her dreams and aspirations concerning her job with Gio. For Gio, he has no careful definition of what he hopes to achieve and how he hopes to achieve them. He just wants to be happy. They return to Manila, and the first thing Joanne decides to do is get a tattoo, one that would always remind her that she wants to be with Gio all the time. Gio takes her to the tattoo parlor, and she gets it, painstakingly. Gio gets a matching tattoo. Right there, Gio offers that Joanne moves in with, and she loves and agrees with the idea. Their love story kickstarts perfectly. Joanne goes on to seal multiple deals for her company. Even Ms. Bing, who is deemed as tough and demanding, constantly rates Joanne as one of the company's assets. As Gio waits for Joanne, he gets a phone call from his dad, who tells him that he'll be withholding his monetary support henceforth. He says his new wife wants it that way. Gio is livid. His dad's support is the reason he doesn't go around looking for jobs. His whole life seems to be crashing. Joanne thinks it's high time he started looking for jobs, but Gio abhors the idea. Jason, Gio's friend, reminds him that he has a pending job offer. This infuriates Gio so much that he gets into a scuffle with Jason. Gio says he possibly can't take the job, as that would mean him relocating to London. He can't afford to be away from Joanne. Joanne wants to make things easier and better for them. She promises to apply for job openings at her company's branch in London. This would enable them to never leave each other's side. They begin applying for their respective jobs. In a few days, Gio gets a call, informing him of his new employment. He excitedly goes to Joanne to share the good news. Sadly, Joanne's application for a transfer to London hasn't been accepted. Joanne was instead promised a promotion to the post of an assistant brand manager, but Gio doesn't care about that. He'd easily pass up the opportunity to move to London, just to be with Joanne. Joanne tries to persuade him into accepting the job, but Gio remains firm in his stance before driving off, without her. Jason makes Gio see the reason behind Joanne's thoughts. He urges him to accept the job in London. Meanwhile, Joanne hands her resignation letter to Miss Bing. Miss Bing doesn't accept it. She advises Joanne not to throw away the bright future ahead of her simply because she's in love. But Joanne has made up her mind. Nothing Ms. Bing says would change it. That night, Gio tells Joanne that he's accepted the job in London. He's okay with Joanne staying back because of her job. This doesn't stop them from being in love. With them cuddled up, Gio asks Joanne to marry him. The unconventional proposal still gladdens Joanne's heart, and she accepts. She then reveals that she sent in her resignation letter to Ms. Bing earlier in the day. The thought that they'll continue their love adventure together pleases them. A few days later, the pair arrive in London. It's Gio's first day at work, and his colleagues help him settle in nicely. Subsequently, Gio finds joy in doing his job. Joanne begins her quest for a job. Sadly, all she ever gets is an apology with a promise to keep her posted if there are any vacancies. Finally, Joanne secures a job as a waitress. Her first day at work has her getting undue pressure. A customer shouts at her for presumably wasting his time. It is Harry, a colleague, who cheers her up after Gio fails to answer his phone. Coming to London is beginning to look like a bad idea for Joanne. She makes her concerns known to Gio, but Ghetto comforts her. A heated argument ensues when Joanne states that she has no urge to extend her stay after her visa expires. Gio is triggered, leading him to say Joanne is selfish for thinking that way. He keeps reiterating that he can make enough money for both of them. Joanne doesn't want that, valuing her happiness. Besides, someone as ambitious as she is won't settle for less. Gio spews derogatory comments, making Joanne slap him. Angrily, he tells her to please herself before storming out. Gio complains to David, his colleague, about Joanne's attitude, so David corrects him. He thinks it is Gio who is selfish, and urges Gio to support whatever makes Joanne happy, considering that she gave up her life to be with him. That evening, Gio meets Joanne at her workplace, and he apologizes for calling her selfish. All he wants is for Joanne to be happy, so he lets her do what she wants. Joanne decides to leave for Manila. They set rules on how to make their relationship work, seeing that they'll be miles apart. Before Joanne boards a plane, they can't seem to leave each other's arms. The tears freely fall, till Joanne draws the strength to leave. Joanne arrives in Manila and secures a job in her previous place of work. Everything has changed there. She now has new colleagues. Sadly, Ms. Bing no longer occupies her previous office. Gio and Joanne keep in touch with each other, calling all the time. They even celebrate their dating anniversary on a video call. It's been months, and the pair miss each other a great deal. Fortunately for Joanne, Ms. Bing still has a place for her in her new establishment. She reaches out to Joanne and offers her the post of assistant brand manager. Without hesitation, Joanne accepts it with a heart full of thanks. Joanne can't get through to Gio on the phone to tell him the good news. She goes ahead to celebrate with her office mates at the club. Gio calls and notices friends around Joanne. Seeing a man close to her, he immediately accuses her of infidelity. The argument escalates, but Joanne refuses to entertain it. She ends the call, leaving Gio furious, and in his anger, he throws things around, breaking them. Gio and Joanne's relationship continues to be strained as they focus more on their jobs. Fortunately, they get rewarded respectively for being good employees. Joanne does well for her family, a feat she has always wanted to do. Months later, Gio visits Manila, and he's picked up by Joanne. The trip from the airport is a dull one as they barely talk. Gab, Joanne's friend, phones Joanne, inviting her for drinks that night. Joanne politely refuses, but this already irks Gio. Joanne diffuses the tension, warning that they shouldn't be toxic towards each other. At a cafe, Gio confesses his thoughts. He feels like Joanne is slipping away from him, but he understands that times have changed, and he wishes that Joanne still has a special place for him in her heart. Joanne still loves Gio, and she promises that nothing will take away her love for him. They mutually agree that they'll keep loving each other while they go on to build their careers and fulfill their ambitions. After a few days, Gio goes back to London. It doesn't take long before Gio phones Joanne. He's tired of being away from Joanne. Now that he has work experience and some sort of financial security, he wants to resign and come home to his love. Joanne is happy to hear that. Finally, she and Gio won't have to be miles apart again. Gio makes the final arrangements. He resigns, receives his severance package, and heads back to Manila. It's a dream come true for them. What started as a joke years ago has now become a reality. Gio and Joanne have both grown in their craft, reaching a point where they can make decisions without being torn apart.